Okay. All right. So the main thing I think it's worth to summarize is all the breakthroughs in the foundation models. We've been kind of dazzled by so many new release, so many new interesting offering from Google, from OpenAI, from XAI. They're all great. And just want to, for the year end, for the whole year, I want to give you a high level overview on what it has happened, how much we have achieved. The and certainly all the AI model becomes way more powerful, way more successful, and they will continue to probably replace probably half of the jobs. That's the prediction. The white collar job, half of them, and once it goes into robotics, all the blue collar jobs will go away. So that's what's coming. The maturity of agents, 2025, we see many practical application of agents. In 2024, still seems very immature, but last year, the agent become a whole. Every company adopts agents. My company or all the other company now work on agents, and they become the actual software that serves customers, serves internal users. So agents just become a reality now. The third thing is video generation continue to mature. Even though it's not moved as fast as I predict, I was predicting like every person should be able to do at least 1 minute video by end of last year. Unfortunately, it seems like the length of the video stays at like 8 seconds for the general offering. Most likely it's because the computing, the cost of if you just give a subscription fee, maybe that doesn't justify. So that could be the reason. The quality of video generation certainly is much, much better. The first part I want to talk about is a little bit about robotics. And early this year, particularly on CES, you can see many demos of new robots. Boston Dynamics released their video. The NVIDIA has their robots. Google is DeepMind is building their robots. So there are many interesting things coming this year. I think this year will be the robotics year. All right, let's actually have a very complete overview on all the models released last year. I like what I put together. I think this is a complete overview on every major release. Um, I People talk about Anthropics. There are some other companies, Mistral. Meta, but I think so far it's pretty clear the top three AI companies, top three companies that dominate large language model space are OpenAI, XAI, and Google. And you can also see by their model performance, by their the speed of their release and their money, how do they monetize their offering. So they all charge money. um, yeah. They all so let's yeah, we will have a discussion at the end. Um, let me maybe just continue on my thoughts. I think that there are a lot of things could be discussed. Let me just give you a rundown for what happened last year. In February 2024, 2025, first GPT 4.5 come out. Then immediately Grok 3 came out. Grok 3 at that time was very powerful, I was amazed because it's the first LM that writes science fiction very, very well. And at that time it's a big jump over all the previous models. And then in March, Google announced the Gemini 2.5, even though they have a big I/O conference, but they didn't actually make it available to the public until May. Uh, After May, so Gemini 2.5 Pro is actually a very good model. They certainly is also one step further than the previous model. And then XAI stepped up in July. They released the Grok 4. And Grok 4 become also the best model so far. Immediately 1 month later, OpenAI released the GPT-5. And GPT-5 certainly also was the best, leading all the other models. Uh, so each company continue to train their models. I think there's some chat. Let me see if I need to. Okay, and you feel free to chat with yourself. I want to answer until the end, until we finish the presentation. So the by November. Basically, this is stabilized for a few months, for about this is 3 months, right? The training a model takes a long time. That's each company continue to update their models. Basically, we are running out of training data. They already used all the internet data, so now they have to generate a synthetic data. They have to like find a new data source to train. The GPT 5.5.1 was released in November. Within 1 week, XAI released the Grok 4.1. Google released the Gemini 3 Pro. So that is a second round of release and competition. We can see next. I'm going to show you a little bit on their performance. And so for Google, the newest model, Gemini 3 Pro, certainly is a very powerful model, and it does very well in many, many things. So far, you can say in half of the task, I would sometime now go. I used to use Grok when Grok 4 was very powerful. Now, Gemini 3 Pro seems much better. So this is a step change, one jump over all the previous models. Uh, Grok tried to catch up by adding, of course, it's only in 1 day, so they added some function to support the agentic solution. So in Grok 4.1 fast, they added a lot tool calling. They made it very agentic. So their goal is to go for enterprise to make this very practical for enterprise to use. And less than a month later, OpenAI released the GPT 5.2. And we will see 5.2 certainly is also a step forward from the 5.1. It actually become very smart. So let me show you the performance for all these models. In terms of tool calling, so Grok 4.1 fast compared to Gemini 3 Pro. It's better. It's close to 91%. If you look at the vertical scores, this is for telecom customer support. The uh, they basically accomplish the task more than 90%. All the rest model, at least GPT 5.1 and the Gemini 3 Pro was much worse. So that's the comparison. So they were very proud. The Grok 4.1 fast was an excellent agent model. However, a month later, GPT 5.2 came out, immediately surpassed. They didn't even list 4.1 here. They just compare with themselves. That's the kind of strange. Some company only when OpenAI released their model, they only do their own self comparison. They never compare to outside models. However, you can see with the same data set, they achieved 98.7% accuracy. So this is the best agentic model out there for tool calling, for answering questions. And so this is really, we want to pay attention to how far we have come for really build a agentic model. The also GPT 5.1 showed their big improvement on all the major benchmark. For example, on the software bench, the SWE Bench Pro and the Bench Verify, they achieved 80%. Um, you, the 80% is a little bit improvement or over, but you can see a much higher improvement in the ARG1, ARC ARG1, AGI. Basically, it's more like artificial general intelligence test. So before it's for the AGI ARC2, they only have 17%, and now it's 52%, 52.9. And also AG1, AGI, ARC1, they achieved more than 10% improvement. So these two tests, people now pay a lot more attention because they are much harder than all the previous uh, than the previous than the previous ones. So one more thing to pay attention here is this GPQA diamond, which is the PhD level exam. The human is about 80, around 80%. We surpassed the human after GPT 5.1, but now GPT 5.2 is 92%. It's way smarter than any human who is a PhD researcher, right? Essentially, the research level, expert level understanding of about all the subjects, not just one subject. They do many subjects. So this is what original Elon Musk predicted that AI will be smarter than expert combined. Not yet all the expert in the world, but at least if you put like 10 experts in different domains, the AI is smarter than all of them. This is in terms of GPQA. I want to do a comparison with what we did last year, the year before. Remember by end of 2024, our data set is mainly a college level. MMLU is a college level exams, basic bachelor level. Then mathematics is in the grade school. The coding is some competition, but not very rigorous. Now this year, the coding, they achieved the gold level in the coding competition, the real coding competition. It's not even showing here. The AIME is the Olympia mathematics level. They achieved 100%. So we completely solved the problem for both coding and the mathematics, which we haven't achieved in 2024. So 2025 is a big jump in terms of intelligence, in terms of the the complete approaching so-called AGI, and it's very apparent in every aspect of intelligence. The AI now is starting to surpass a human. Now, the what I want to show is there is one more data set called the Humanities Last Exam. Um, it's a very catchy name. Essentially, I'm not even sure it's a better test set data than ARC1 or ARC2. So if you look at ARC1, ARC2 here, ARC2, ARC AGI2 are still very difficult. Our current accuracy is 52.9%. ARC1, we already achieved 86, so seems like the problem is solved for ARC1. So remaining part is ARC2. The For the HLE Humanities Last Exam, our current performance, the best is Gemini 3 Pro, as you can see here. The Gemini 3 Pro is a little less than 40%. So that's the best model performance so far. It's a multi-choice question. It's also different subjects, mathematics, humanity, natural science, chemistry. There are different subjects. So very similar to the GPQA, the PhD level exam, but maybe the questions are much harder. It's more expert level, even beyond the PhD level. So that is where we are. So looks like there's still a little gap, but I expect in 2026 the gap will be very fast, will be closed. That's the only thing left. And also, I want to see in the software coding. So I mentioned the GPT-2 5.2 are excellent in terms of agentic coding, but Gemini 3 Pro so far in the intelligence, in the reasoning, are doing better than all the rest, and also in doing better in coding. If you look at the leaderboard for Sui agent bench, the Gemini 3 Pro is better than GPT 5.2. Cloud, they are equal to cloud, but cloud is more expensive. As you can see, Cloud Opus is still usable. I certainly believe over time Gemini will probably take over, will become adopted much more widely. All right. So um, given the closed source model and it becomes so profitable that Google essentially devoted all the resource, right? They have a big conference to showcase all the dazzling achievement in video generation, in agentic solution, in large language model conversation, in application to chemistry, to biology, to any domain. The main motivation for such a drive is essentially it's a profitable model where they charge by tokens. If you sign up with a monthly fee, you pay for the usage. And the better the model, the more people will use it. So each company are aiming for the best model to attract people to use their model. The On the other hand, with last year 2025, as also we see some amazing achievement from open source model. The first one is DeepSeek R1, which really created a sensation in January. With certainly the reason they can
もうちょっと食
achieve.
べたいな。まだある。3枚ある。
Sorry.
3枚。3
Um,
枚。うん。うん。そうだね。そうだね。うんうん。ご飯ちょっと少なめで。
please mute yourself.
うん。あ、食べた。
He
Please
must have
mute yourself.
accidentally.
Please,
He might have accidentally.
Satoshi, please mute yourself.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Um, all right. I was worried we may be bombed again. Okay, if it's not a bomb, I'm not going to kick people out. All right. Let's coming back to the sharing. So let's just try to understand the motivation for open source model. For open source model, the motivation is many companies think they don't want to pay the token fee if you have a high traffic. If you have a lot of consumers, you don't want to call Google, XAI or OpenAI all the time to that's one. Secondly, you don't want to submit your company tokens, company history to those companies. So there's a privacy concern, there's a cost concern for company want to build their own with the open source. And for general public, for a lot of entrepreneurs, they also want to control how they can fine tune the model, how to make the model better, adapt to their situations. So we see a lot of local training based on Llama 2, Llama 3. That's why Llama 4 came out. Unfortunately, Llama 4 was so big, it essentially lost the appeal of open source model because the main reason people use open source model is cheaper, it's better, even though it's less performing, but it's cheaper. So the cost and the size makes a big difference. Gamma 3 is a kind of fit into the sweet spot. It has a very small size and it achieved a very good performance comparing to Llama 3. That's why it has more adoption. So because of that, NVIDIA also gets into this open source space, which is new, but NVIDIA now want to really get into open source. So they released their open source model at a size 30 billion, 100 billion, which is smaller than Llama 4. And the 30 billion is doable. Even 100 billion for certain companies affordable. So that is, personally, I think once you go beyond the 30 billion, company would consider whether to use open source or use a closed source model. So it's really a very tricky, yeah. But if you don't go above 30 billion or above 100 billion, the performance still suffer. The lesson I think in the industry, what people found out is, in terms of cost, the closed large companies closed source model is actually not that expensive. If you consider you have to run your own GPU, you have to hire a PhD or hire someone, a machine learning engineer to fine tune the model, the time, the cost, all those added together, it's similar to use a large model. So number one. Number two is the privacy concern is relieved by a lot of enterprise agreement with these three major companies. So OpenAI now has agreement with many large companies for hosting their internal data. Google does the same thing on Google Cloud. XAI is also going after enterprise. So that actually is unfortunate news for many startups. It means many startups starts because they can offer enterprise solution with some privacy. But in the future, privacy is no longer a concern because you can easily isolate data on server, and as long as the other company like Google, OpenAI promise they will never train with your data, they will never. So most companies are willing to go with that route. I had this discussion with an entrepreneur who is trying to build a new AI startup. And this is the conclusion is there's not much room for, if you want to play with open source model for your personal entertainment, that's fine. But if you want to build a business on open source model, it may not be a viable in going forward, it may not be that viable. That's my conclusion by the end of 2025. In the middle of 2025, we still think there was a chance for open source model to win in this game. But the real major criteria people select a model is the accuracy, is the performance. And unless you cross a certain threshold, the performance suffers. And that becomes a major issue for business. All right. So now I want to switch to another topic. So now we talk about all the major AI exciting AGI coming intelligence-wise, large model-wise. It's definitely we are moving very, very fast and faster approaching AGI, meaning we will have this year, I believe, we will have so-called scientific discovery coming from AI. And that means AI not only just answer questions, solving existing problems, they will be able to think through on new problems, finding new properties, and discover new things. Yeah, so that is kind of predicted by the DeepMind's the protein discovery um, code, but the AlphaFold. But that is kind of still restricted to certain kind of manipulation on the different like proteins, different combinations, right? The scientific discovery will be even requiring more knowledge, different kind of mixture of deep reasoning, deep thinking. So I believe we are seeing that this year. There's already a new conference starting that the conference only accept a paper written by AI. So in this conference, the AI will initiate a new topic, a new research topic, then will do its own experiments, conduct experiments, write out the paper, submit the paper, right? So the whole end to end will be done by AI. The human is just a curation to to submit for the AI. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what will happen, the quality of the paper. We already see, I think, end of last year, Andrew Ng's company created a so-called AI reviewer, where the AI can review research cutting-edge AI conference papers. And that means in the future, we don't need a human to read, like in the past, for any major AI conference, you have three reviewers and they sometimes disagree with each other. Some reviewer put in very little effort reading the paper and also got very upset. The Some reviewer doesn't even know the domain, right? So they give a very poor score. And then after the reviewer reviews, there's a program committee member review the make a judgment. It's a very tedious, very time-consuming process. Now, if the AI reviewer can achieve, so they showed that with data, with existing data, the AI reviewers score is consistent with a human, then the very soon I think all the future like main scientific conference paper will be reviewed by AI, and so that's coming. That's what we are seeing. And scientific discovery will be done by AI. Essentially, say what are people doing, what are scientists are doing. So I think the first group of replacement, even though we talk about the job replacement, actually the first group will be the highest level intelligence. Will start with the expert, and then the coder. Even the machine learning researcher may not be needed that much because AI will be able to reason itself, revise its own code, continue to update itself the by become better and better. So that kind of loop, self-improving loop, can be written into the program. So that's coming. That's why we say agent in 2025 becomes very mature. I talk about a paper review agent. It started with so-called Manus, which recently sold to Meta. But Manus is just a web browsing agent, combining with reasoning steps and task completion, right? So it goes out, does a few tasks. It's not like mysterious. I actually reviewed their GitHub code. They are just calling tools sequentially. The major interesting part at that time was they are able to browse the website, fill out the form, getting information into the site and retrieve information back. And so basically working on behalf of the people to figure out what's happening on different website. So that is web browsing. This part becomes very mature now by end of 2025. Deep research I mentioned. Coding also becomes we saw windsurf being sold. Coding now is being sold, solve the problem. The customer support is certainly mature. Now we are seeing even app building. What do I mean? App building is for coding agent. They just generate a bunch all the code for you, including front end, back end code. But you still need to review the code. The app building agent doesn't give you they give you the code, but you don't have to read any code. You just say, I want to build what I tried is a Trello clone. I want to do a project management app. So they just generate a complete interface with the all the tabs, with all the backend database set up, the complete end-to-end software for you. And you don't need to check their code. They may make some errors. If they make error, you just say, check your error, update your code, review, see where the problem happens. And then they do their self-review. They then update the app. And after that, you can just launch the app on a web server. So make it available to the public. This is almost like seamless procedure with no human intervention. This becomes very I think there are several companies doing this, and now OpenAI and Google moved into this space. OpenAI now integrate with Replit. Google now has their own anti-gravity, their own app building studio. They essentially the startup who are into this domain, building app, automating app building, probably will be either be sold to OpenAI or Google. Because what I see, what I observe is these three major companies now move into the agent space. They want to dominate customer support. They want to do coding. They want to do web browsing. Essentially, after they build out the LM, because the LM is so powerful, they are able to do all the agentic applications. So they will the world is eat the lunch of all the startups, and that's probably will come very soon. And the second part is the agentic maturing, the part of agent software become an industry is is based on the observation that now we have a so-called agentic framework. Before we are just building an agent, and I have a chart, but that is showing how an agent interface with the user. The agent calls API, use MCP tool, and has a RAG database. Basically, use a RAG to access the knowledge base. Then do some self-reasoning, give answer. That's an agent, but agent is not an agent framework. So let me explain what the agent framework is. In order to build a production agent, we are actually looking at model calling, how we support a consistent model calling, so the agent can switch from OpenAI model to Grok to Gemini. So the model calling should be abstracted out. Same thing for tool calling with MCP server. Same thing for how to manage the state and the memory, how to handle the error, how to orchestrate different agents, and then how to build the observability and the evaluation in the pipeline. This is what we call a framework. So many companies, I mentioned OpenAI provided their framework. Google provided their framework. Uh, Many people probably still remember when you build the agent, we use LangChain, we use Llama Index. So there small startups provide the so-called framework. Microsoft also did their framework, AutoGen. Essentially, what happens is every large AI company now will give you their framework because their framework is native to their platform. So they want you to use their platform, running in on their server using their agent tools. So the the food chain start from the LM foundation model, but now move down to the agents, move down to a agent platform. The generation is the central idea is in the center you have a master agent. So the master agent, if you have a platform, you do need to have sub agents to handle subtasks. At that time, you also have context. You need some context management, or we call context engineering, which become, I think, in 2026 will be dominating topic for agent. Because the rest is almost done. The knowledge retrieval for RAG is almost done. The memory, long-term, short-term memory is also pretty much solved the problem. But the context management is a dynamic prompt management. You wanted the agent to be able to not always use every history, because all the history can be confusing, can create a can be long, very, very long. So it's costly to send to the server, to the token cost will be high. So there are a lot of consideration of when you run the agent, how to reduce the cost. That is the main motivation behind the context management. And on the right side, I'm showing that we need a constant evaluation and monitoring. If the agent fails, what happens? Can we roll back the agent? So this is essentially creating a new profession. So in the future, in the past, we call software engineering. In the future, it's the agentic engineering, or even context engineering. Will all this new skill, the new knowledge people needs to understand, to master, because in the future we are no longer managing code. We are managing agent. All the software engineer in the future essentially is try to. In the past, the software engineer in the last 2 years is mainly write prompts that we call prompt engineering. But the prompt engineering is going to be automated, I believe, this year. And I actually talk about self-learning of a prompt. Oh, I didn't put it here. But we will have another meetup. I will maybe go deeper into the agent part. So prompt engineering will go away. There are several new in the last 3 months. Several major papers came out, propose a self-learning of a prompt. So I think that the prompt will be part of the machine learning paradigm, where you can learn how to write. The machine will write its own prompt, will become better and better by observing the mistake, by updating the prompt, testing against the new case. So we will have automated prompt writing. So the prompt engineering will go away. What's remaining is the context management, the context engineering, and the understanding the personalization, understanding how the agent works. And that's one, still a lot to be done in 2026. Another domain that still require human to participate is the evaluation. How do we evaluate whether the agent hallucinate, whether it fails? How do we recover? How do we roll back? All this work still tied to human judgment. So the evaluation and the dynamic context management, I think are the remaining for at least for 1 year. At least we have 1 year window for people to work on. And so that's my now I want to quickly go into video generation. And many of you, I believe this is a very common topic people already played with. I showed even in July in this meetup, I showed the video I generated with VO3, 8-second video, very interesting animation. And you people can play with Grok, play with Sora. Personally, I still think Google is the number one. Google is the VO331 leads in the video generation. It's mainly because you can have a real conversation inside their video. So far, Grok only has music. I haven't seen Grok generate a very good conversation. Maybe if you guide it with specific words, but so far I haven't been successful. I would love to hear other people's experience with Grok video. Sora has a similar problem. Sora has a very beautiful cinematographic shot, but it has some music, but it doesn't have a real conversation. So the video is the most. I believe it's because Google now has the unified model, multimodal LM, where the token they learn image, speech, and text all together in one single model. They are not separating them, so it's very easy to combine. And this is a unique technology inside Google, and I believe the other two companies has not caught up yet. There could be some data training issue. Maybe they don't have enough data to train their model. Since Google has YouTube, they have way more data to improve their model. So in terms of video and image generation, Google still lead. And people probably played with Nano Banana Pro. It can not only generate a very good picture, also like a greeting card, like a flow chart, many new things. It's amazing. It's also they can do a whole tutorial graphics for you. It's very versatile. So in this part, I think Google definitely is the number one. Now, I want to move into robotics. So the major development in robotics is that we started to have a foundation model for robotics. So before, robotics is a separate discipline from the software development. They have their own unique model. Now they adopt a large language model. Not only large language model, it's the vision language model where we combine both image and image token and text token trained together. And this becomes the foundation model. Continuing, we are also adding the action token and the other tokens, speech token into this model. So we are going to see the convergence of general LM for the software side and the robotics side. So essentially, they are going to use the identical model, and that will simplify the intelligence for robots. So even today, with like Tesla, in Tesla, the FSD is trained with general neural network. So consider all the large language model is a neural network. Essentially, we are going to see this convergence. Once that converge, development of robotics will move much faster. And it's already happening last year. That's number one. Second part is we see a lot of synthetic data and the simulation data being used to train robot. Mainly because robot is very expensive in the real world. You want to use simulation. And also synthetic data plays a very important role now. And certainly we see a lot of on-device autonomy. So the multimodal reasoning, because of the unification of a large language model integrating speech, image, and the text, the robot is able to reason. So how does the robot interact with the world is by looking at the world. So they use the image to make a decision. And then they listen, they hear something, they make a conversation. So the interface depends on the multimodal reasoning, and that data is coming together. All right, so now just share a few development is there's a so-called Gemini robotics. They essentially try to provide a foundation model, a hardware for other company to use. It's open source. I believe it's open source. They try to more like a research. So Google doesn't build their own hardware. I believe the strategy is similar to Android. The Google create Android model for other manufacturer to use to host their phones. So they provided this foundation model, the software layer. NVIDIA because not only they want to do GPU, they want to move into robotics. So they created their own robot. And in order to build their own robot, they create their own foundation model. The core capability for this year is so-called long horizon reasoning for the robot. So in order to achieve something, they have to do several different things to achieve that. And spatial reasoning, that's one. And also, how does the language model generate action? The action token and robot knows what to do. So that's mapped to the robot. The yeah, so I I want to just show you a few that's currently leading. I personally think the Optimus in Tesla, they already have the newest version Optimus actually working in factory. I believe they mentioned that there's about 1,000 Optimus robot, and the next year they expect end of 2026 they expect that to become 1 million. The reason is now the robotic development move very fast. You even just this past week, I actually will show you a couple video when I close this presentation. The amazing achievement of a current robot is it's like um, the, the, the flexibility of their hand is 10 times more flexible now than human. Before it's mainly because a robotic hand is not too rigid, they don't have enough flexibility. All those problem is gone. So they are way more flexible than human. So they can manipulate many things. They can do many jobs that were in the warehouse in the industry environment, they can really shine. So the first bunch of robot, humanoid, I would many refer to humanoid, will become workers in the manufacturing environment. That's what we're seeing coming. All right, let me actually show you a video. I think it will be fun for people to see. Let me see, it's on my timeline. Okay. Oh, wait. All right, let me share my screen. See if you can. Okay. All right, so this one is not that impressive. I'll show you a few more. From this year's Boston Dynamic demo. Let me show you this one.
Just for this performance. And I think we've done something really special. We've also been at this robotics thing for a while, and we've learned that there's more to it than just copying nature. We can pick the best parts of what nature has to offer and do better at art. So as you can see, Atlas here has joints that move 360 degrees. This lets Atlas move even more efficiently than humans particularly in manufacturing environments where every second counts. We've also designed Atlas's head and face very purposefully.
Okay.
We want folks working with
Let me turn off my application. So, as you can see, the joint are so flexible. I'll show you one more. This shows you the actual factory applications, and this is even give you more idea of how the robot will be used in the industry environment. All right. So that's all for my presentation. Now it's close to 8. We can open up for discussion.